Hi, I'm Dave Prosper, and I'm here to show you some ways that you can use your new Galileoscope to demonstrate the power of a telescope. Now, the Galileoscope, while a wonderful teaching tool, has its limits, especially when compared to the telescopes that you'll see astronomers using at star parties. That being said, you can still use it to show off a few astronomical wonders. Now, you'll need a tripod for this activity, because you'll want to keep the Galileoscope nice and steady. As long as you have a basic tripod with a standard camera mount, you'll be okay. Since you just assembled a telescope in your classroom, you might want to test it out right there. You can use the screen in your classroom to project any image you want and focus your new telescope on the image. You may want to use an image that fits the theme of the Galileoscope, like small images of bright Jupiter and its tiny moons, or even our own moon. So, do you have clear weather outside? Bring out your Galileoscope and look up. The moon, Jupiter, and random starry patches of sky all make for great targets for your new telescope. The moon is a great choice for a target, as it can be seen both at night and even during the day. For many classrooms, that makes the moon the obvious choice for astronomical viewing. Check it out during class hours, or you can even look at it during lunch break. Point your Galileoscope at the moon and notice its seas and craters. How much more of the moon can you see through the scope versus just with your eye? Do the phases of the moon seem to bring out more detail on its surface than the full moon? You can also point the Galileoscope at a patch of sky with some bright stars and see how many you can see through the eyepiece. How many stars can you see with your naked eye, and how many can you actually see through the scope? How big is the field of view that you can see through your telescope versus with your naked eye? This helps point out the difference between field of view versus magnification. If the timing is right, bright Jupiter will be out in the early evening, which is another great target. It's a little trickier to point the scope at Jupiter than the moon, so you may want to practice aiming the telescope a few times. If you found the moon earlier, that certainly helps to practice your aiming ability. It's a bit tricky to find Jupiter and keep the telescope steady, but once you have it aimed right, you will be rewarded with the sight of Jupiter and its moons looking like tiny bright stars lined up on either side of Jupiter. Count how many moons you see and where they are located. Look at Jupiter a little while later in the evening and note how much the moons have moved. You can even make a record of what you saw with a simple sketchbook and observe them again the following night to compare. You are recreating the work that Galileo did over 400 years ago with a telescope that you assembled with your own hands. And guess what? This is a much better telescope than he ever had. So, have fun.